hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Patron Hangout number 77. And welcome everybody who's in the chat room. Do tell me if you can see and hear me. Since we had some technical problems last time, I want to be sure that things aren't a screw up this time. While you tell me that, I'll welcome everybody. Kelly says she can't be here. Oh, sorry. Benny says, Benny is saying to me, by the way, I'm doing one of the reasons I'm doing it at 3 o'clock Eastern time. When I did the same last week is because there are 3 UK cases I want to talk about, and I didn't want to leave people from the UK out of it. So I'm doing 2 3 o'clock shows in a row. Benny says, hello, Pat, and all dear fellow Patreons. Bet Pat is going to mention again that Peter Falding guy who just can't admit that a body in water is hard to find and stop his nonsense. So we're talking about the Nicola Bulley case, and I have 3 different things to say about the case at this point. And yes, I will talk about some of the things he is now saying. So yes, I will get there. I'm going to do the Madeleine McCann craziness first, and then I'll do the Nicola Bulley thing. Christine is here. Annie Haley is here. Libby is here. Oh, you're new, Libby, and welcome to the channel. And by the way, if you'd like to be here in the chat room, please do click the link below to Patreon. And when you join Patreon, you can then participate in all the live hangouts every week and the live case shows every week, and be part of our community as well. And we have a great community. So please do that. And if you don't want to join Patreon, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share in a true crime group, that kind of thing, because the channel does need supporting. Anyway, let's see who else is here. Cantina is here. Strega is here. Scarlett's here. Let's see who else is here. Let's see. Sandra's here. Carolina is here. Molly's here. Let's see. Did I just say Gretchen? Lisa Ann is here. Sky Ricky is here. Melena is here. Nina is here. Wow, it's a big group here today. So I'm going to whip through and let's see if there's anybody else new here. Florence is here. And if I missed, VLW is here. And yeah, you're on time. So, by the way, is anybody hearing and seeing me? Nobody said anything yet. Come on, folks. And Mary Hayes is here from Yorkshire. Welcome. Let's see. I'm looking up and down to see if anybody is having trouble seeing or hearing me. Is there any problem today? Let's see. Come on. Okay. Annie Haley says you can see and hear me. Good. Because I was glitching last week when we had to reboot the whole show. So, awesome. So now let's settle down. First I want to talk about this whole Madeleine McCann thing. And because I'm going to have to talk about this nonsense, and you've all approved of me bringing a beer to a hangout, today's very tall beer is the Taj Mahal beer. This is from India. And I had this the first time when I went to India in a very embarrassing situation because it was my first trip to India as an American. And I went to a friend's house in Hyderabad in South India, and the family welcomed me in, and I sat down, and everybody was in a big circle. And one of the gentlemen said, "Would you like a beer?" And to be polite, and because I did like a beer, I said yes. And then he left the house, and it took him 30 minutes. He finally found a place he could buy a beer, came back and gave me 1 beer. And then I sat there in front of everybody drinking the 1 beer while all the people stared at me because nobody there drank alcohol. So I learned not to do that again. What? Wait a minute. Well, okay. It's like you can't open this bottle. Look, I did it without blowing it up. Let's see. Taj Mahal, how does it taste? It's a good beer. Good beer, Taj Mahal. All right. So anyway. Oh, you like that beer, Annie. Okay. Wow, what? No, not many people know about this beer. That's my favorite beer, Pat. Taj Mahal. Good stuff. What happened with the Diet Pepsi? I'm going to tell you. I ran out. My granddaughter was here last night, and she wasn't feeling well, so she begged me for some Diet Pepsi, which I try not to give her because she's 8, but she guzzled it. So now I don't have any. So, so now I have beer. Diet Pepsi will return. All right. So now on to this Madeleine McCann thing. Now, Amy Haley says, is it better than Old English 800? Well, Old English 800 is, a nice big can that'll get you drunk real quick. So I'm not sure. It's it's classier. So I will say that. Okay, so to the Madeleine McCann thing. I'm not going to use this woman's name, but she wrote me and claimed to me that she was Madeleine McCann. Okay. She believes she's Madeleine McCann. She has I think it's a Instagram account with like 25,000 people following her now. And she's putting up pictures. I'll show you some of just the basic pictures she's put up. So what she's done is things like this. These are different pictures she's put up here. Try to show how she looks like Kate. She has a smile that looks like, I guess, Kate. Eyes that supposedly look like Kate. So if she bends her head in a certain way and smiles a certain way, she finds a picture of Kate that looks sort of the same. And then she did this. So now she's got one of these half and half pictures. So you see that's Madeleine on the left, and that's this woman on the right. And she claims they look the same. And I'm like, not really. She could look sort of ish, but lots of kids look similar. And then she put, again, we have, here's Madeleine on the left, and here's this woman on the right at a certain age, and she's in a similar head in a similar position. So see, I look like her. Now, somebody just put this picture up, which really did amuse me, because one of the things I ask when somebody writes me something that is pretty unbelievable, shall we say, and they come in number of categories. Number one category is I'm being stalked, and they're being stalked in the most amazing way you've ever heard, like over 10 years period of time. And I've moved 5 times, but the guy keeps finding me, and he's putting things on my doorstep, and he's doing things in my house, and he's cars are following me. And I asked this question: do you have any proof? And then they go on with their story. And then I'm like, no. Do you have any proof? Any videos, any photos, any phone messages, anything? Have you got anything? Well, no. Do you have anything? And that's how I end the conversation very quickly. And this is a Munchausen's thing, which is I need attention. It's a psychopathic type of behavior for men, mostly for females, where they want to get this kind of attention, so they claim something is being done to them. The next one I get is I was raised in a satanic cult, and all manners of horrible things happened to me. And I say, do you have any proof? No, do you have any proof? Because I don't want to go on with this conversation more than like 2 or 3 minutes, because they'll go on all day long trying to convince me with their story, but never with proof. So I asked this woman when she wrote to me, do you have any proof? And she got immediately offended. And she was, what kind of proof do you want? Well, I'm like, well, you didn't just appear out of nowhere. Somebody had you. If Madeleine disappeared when she was just barely 4, then you had to be out there somewhere, right? I mean, from 4 on, who had you? What parents? What school were you in? Do you have anything? Pictures of the family that raised you? What did your family say? And then she would not answer those questions. She would scout around, just skirt around them, and then say, hey, I'll see what I can find. And that's how I know it's bull. So anyway, somebody put this picture up, which I thought was kind of funny. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think it's amusing. This is a pro-truth justice from Madeleine. She isn't Madeleine McCann. This is her biological mother. Now, I don't know if it is or not, but if I had to say she looked like somebody, I'm going to go with that woman. She's on the right and the woman's on the left. And I'm going to say, of all the pictures out there, this one convinces me more than any other one. So what's interesting to me is also she wrote to me, right? Now, how much research did she do? I mean, there are a number of people on this, that speak out about this case that are well known, and I'm one of them. It's not like you can't put in profiler Pat Brown, Madeleine McCann, and find everything I've ever written about the case. And you would think she knows that I think Madeleine died in the apartment. Right? She died in the vacation flat that night, in my opinion, from the evidence. That's what the evidence supports to me. I think she's been dead for years. And yet she contacts me to tell me she's alive. You don't even pay attention to what I think. That's another clue. When somebody doesn't do any of their homework and they're just going out there and trying to get attention, they don't waste their time actually being able to put together a good argument, to have a presentation. If I'm going to go to a well-known criminal profiler, especially one who doesn't believe that person is even alive, I'm going to have my stuff in order. I will have it clear so I can say, look, can I send this over by email? And I have these details for you. Of course, hopefully not like 50 pages of garbage, which some people will do too, but just enough stuff with proof so that I would say, let me take a look at this because it is interesting. Shouldn't do any of that. So I'm thinking this is just, I know it's nonsense. And it's funny because even people who think Madeleine was abducted think she's dead. So yet this woman has decided she's going to be the live Madeleine. And this is what annoys about it the most. And here's what really got me ticked. So here's the email I get yesterday. Hi, my name is Manessa Donabalan. I am a reporter at CHCH News in Hamilton, Ontario. I'm covering a story on Madeleine McCann and a woman from Poland claiming to be her for our show tonight. And I was wondering if you'll be available for a really quick Zoom interview today before 4 p.m. Eastern time to talk about this. Please email me or call me. Thank you, Manessa. Really? Okay, so I wrote back. Manessa, why are you covering this nonsense? There is zero proof Madeleine is alive, and there is zero proof, she has provided nothing of worth, that this woman is Madeleine McCann. Grifters shouldn't be given attention. She writes back, hi, Pat. Part of the angle we're covering for this story is whether this could be true or not. Would you be willing to do a quick Zoom interview to share your thoughts? I wrote back, what part did you miss about not giving a grifter publicity? Well, that did end the conversation. I love the angle thing, the media and their angles. First of all, some woman out there is claiming stupid stuff is not news. It does not belong in the major news channels. It should not be. And I'm going to guarantee it's going to show up all over the news channels. And I wouldn't be surprised if people even have her on to speak to, on the shows. And now they're trying to waste people time like mine to come on there. And the angle is, could it be Madeleine McCann or not? Do you think it's possible? Now, this is also going to be a taped interview. And I've told you over and over again, that's why I won't do this kind of crap. They could tape this interview and God knows what will come out on the show. They will edit me. And so I'm going to get on there and it's going to be, I would say things and they would, decide what they wanted me to, how they wanted me to help them with their angle, shall we say, their agenda. And I think it's appalling. And that's why I've lost a lot of respect for journalism. So the minute she contacted me, I'm like, I lost respect for you. Why are you doing this stupid news story? The police aren't taking it seriously. There's no reason to take it seriously. No proof it's ever been shown. And I would guess if she's supposedly has family around her, she could get DNA done between her and her family. She doesn't have to go find the McCanns. She just needs to find out if she's a member of her own family. She didn't say she was adopted. She didn't even say that to me. She just said she couldn't remember her first 5 years are very, very vague. Well, I can't remember my first 5 years either. So does that mean I was a kidnapped child? I feel sorry for her parents unless her parents suck, but unbelievable. So that's my first little commentary on this nonsense. So let me see what you have to say about that. Bizarre. VLW says, bizarre to make such a claim. That would be so easy to prove or disprove. Well, here is the problem. Who's spending their time disproving it? You see, and I think she's going to hold on to that. Unless the McCanns or the police accept, that they're going to do a DNA test between the two of them. She can pull this story on and on and on and on as long as she wishes, and as many ways. She's obviously getting very prolific, being on the internet and sending out emails, and now she's got the national media's involved in it. She's winning. She's winning because people stupidly and for their own little agendas, which is called getting viewers and all this kind of garbage, don't give. This is not news. This is not journalism. This is nonsense. And it's an embarrassment that the news media would even waste their time with this. If she has, you can't keep her off the internet. You can't, because she can do that all she wants. And a bunch of people want to become her cheerleaders and think she's Madeleine McCann. Well, I can't stop that either. But the major media channels should not be involved in this nonsense. So, yeah. Let's see. Whoops, wait a minute, I just missed that. Yes, Milena. Wait, now, she's alive and well? I thought the German pedo was responsible. I can't keep up with all the ridiculous stories. Yeah, they're still, the German dude, they keep promising is that they have connections, and the prosecutor's going to take him one day and charge him with Madeleine's disappearance and murder. Time just goes on, because he's got nothing. The prosecutor has nothing. So that's the problem. Libby says, it's called My 15 Minutes of Fame. Well, here's the problem. It's now no longer 15 minutes. They can stretch this crap out hugely with the internet. And because news channels are willing to give her the time of day. And that means to me, they're not, that's not news. It's not news. It's just appalling that they would make it news. So the McCanns aren't rushing to meet her and check her out. Well, of course not, as they know it's not possibly their daughter. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they know. Now, of course, this is coming from folks who believe that McCanns know what happened to Madeleine in the vacation flat on that night, and do not believe in the abduction theory. But, the McCanns, if they believe in the abduction theory, they're not rushing to get her DNA. So that, it's even they can't buy, even if they know, even if they truly are innocent, So let's see. Madeleine McCann equals Princess Anastasia. Anastasia, proven by DNA to have been buried with her siblings. Someone needs to replace her. Why not Madeleine? Oh, Anastasia's story. I've forgotten about that one. That was quite a story too. Didn't she end up in Virginia in the United States? Something like that. I can't remember how that all worked. Let's see. Gretchen says, would her wild accusations actually hurt the case against Bruckner? What case? There's no case. That's the problem for the prosecution in Germany. They have no case. They don't have a shred of physical evidence. They have no proof he was there at that location, exactly at that location. They've got some people saying he said something. That's all. Or they're making up that he said something. And he's a creepy dude. They've got nothing. And they actually, if you listen to some of the interviews with the prosecutor, he kind of admits they've got nothing, but yeah, nothing can hurt that case. Oh no, that could be true. Nina, you might be right. Maybe Anna Delvey will interview her at one of her sparkling dinner parties. Two grifters are better than one. I shouldn't laugh because that really could be true. That could really end up happening. Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. Has she been writing Bruckner in prison? Oh, no, there's a claim. She has a claim of being sexually assaulted by a different pedophile guy who was supposedly maybe involved. I forgot his name and I don't really care. Libby says Germans have sat on that for quite a while, not enough to get an indictment. They get nothing. Literally, they've got nothing. That's why they can't get an indictment. I'm not saying they couldn't do something. They can just close the case down and say it's him. They could administratively do it. They could make some deal with him at some point where he confesses. But they've got no proof, and that's always been the problem with this whole thing. Off topic. Where is the best place to get physical copies of your books? Keeping Your Daughter Safe and Cleopatra. Cleopatra, can't get a physical copy of that on Amazon. I thought you could get it on Amazon. How to Save Your Daughter's Life is only in a horrible audio form right now on Amazon. But I would go to like eBay. eBay is probably the best place to get physical copies. So yeah, that's probably the best place. That's, and sometimes Amazon will have, they'll be selling for third-party bookstores, used bookstores. So those would be my recommendations. She did live in Charlottesville, Virginia. Okay. The woman who claimed to be Anastasia Romanoff lived and died in Charlottesville, Virginia. She was actually a servant that worked in their home. Interesting. What about the iris abnormality Madeleine had? Maybe you said something, I missed it, but does she have the same thing? She claims to have the same thing. And in one picture, I can see a very faint line. But does that make her Madeleine? No. Cleopatra. You can get most of my books. You can get even a new copy through one of those other bookstores if it's not on Amazon. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm hoping they'll make my book, which is the whole history of Cleopatra, into a series, and that's one of my hopes these days. And if they don't, I'm just going to do it here on YouTube. So let's see. Okay. Now let's go to Nicola Bulley. Okay. So a couple comments I want to make on that. All right. Now, should I start with the diving expert? Oh, Lord. Okay. So the diving expert, I've gotten some really nasty comments on YouTube, along with very nice ones, but some really nasty ones. The nasty ones are about Peter Faulding, the dive guy for the Nicola Bulley case. And I quoted his quotes that were in the media. Okay, I was said, and people say, "Oh, you misquoted him." I didn't misquote the media's quotes. If the media did their thing to do with me and didn't put his quotes in properly, well, that's not me. That's on them. But through all the things he said, I've got a feeling for the tone of what he's saying. And I think a lot of people are trying to twist that to make it come off better for him because they're angry at the police. So they're trying to say that Peter Faulding was right to begin with, and he's like a hero here. And so I've been disrespectful to him, saying certain things that he said, and I'm putting him down. My opinion on Peter Faulding generally is this. It's very nice of him to offer to help the police diving. That's grand. I mean, I'm all for experts who can do certain things, like special searches. Some people are good with online searches. Some people are good with grid searches in a field. Some people are good with dogs. Bring the dogs in. And there's private people who can do this, and the police will bring them in. That's fabulous. And if they bring in a dive team because they have good expertise, I'm fine with that. And I think that when those people work with the police, what they don't do then is start trashing the police after they've worked with him right away. I mean, if over time they feel like the police really have failed and they discovered something, the police kept it secret. I'm not for, if you see some kind of shenanigans at some point, you might have to speak up under those circumstances. I don't see that here. What I see here is somebody who just should have just done his job, said, we've done the best we can for now. We'll be happy to do some more work, and leave it alone. But that's not what happened. So what happened was this. He came out and he said, I'm sorry, wrong place. Let me get her off here. Okay, let me roll down here. All right. Search expert Peter Faulding was the last person to scour the area nearly 2 weeks ago on February 6th. He's also facing questions last night after he said at the conclusion of his 3-day investigation, quote, If Nicola was in the river, I would have found her. She's not there. All right. He made that statement. He searched the river all the way down to what's called the Weir, W-E-I-R, and I didn't know what that word was, and somebody told me I was a lousy profile because I didn't know that word. I'm sorry. Never heard it in my life. So I don't search rivers. I mean, I don't know. So he searched a portion of that river, not the entire river, because unless that's a much longer river than the area that he searched. And I'm not saying he didn't even do a good job. I'm saying he might have done everything he could, sonar and all that. He searched as hard as he could. And then he said, she's not in the river. And I think, do I have it here? Here it's like, my previous comments saying that if Nicola was in the river, I would find her still stand. If she was in the river, I would find her. Well, you didn't, and she is. So, I mean, some things are just facts, because finding bodies is very difficult. They do drift. They get sucked into places. They go under mud. They get stuck under trees. All kinds of things can happen. It's very hard sometimes to find bodies in rivers. So that you did not find her during your search I don't have any issue with that. I think you worked hard, and I think that's fine. But you said that she was not in the river, period. And that then told the family and lots of other people that she therefore either ran away or was kidnapped, one of those two, but she went the other direction away from the river. So therefore the investigation would go that direction. So that's when people got really heated up about, okay, she's not in the river, blah, 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 blah. All right. And then he also made the statement, is that on this one? He also said that he thought that the phone on the bench might be a decoy, which is basically he's trying to say staging, which again would mean she didn't fall in the river. The phone was left there and she was pulled some other direction, or she left the phone there and went some other direction. Now, he's a dive expert. He's not a detective. I don't think he should have been saying that in the media. That's not anything that he knows about. So maybe that was not a great thing to say. So that also told the family and to other people, oh, see, he thinks that's a decoy. And everybody went off on that little spiel there. Then he says here, tonight he said it would be totally unfair to say he gave the family false hope if the body as feared turned out to be Miss Bulley. Okay. He added, now he tells the truth here. He added, a body could lodge in the reeds under debris, and you wouldn't see it on any form of sonar, either the police or our sonar. Well, he's just admitted he could have missed her, and the police could have missed her. It's not unreasonable. So it does mean she could be in the river. See, he's trying to backtrack. He's trying to cover for what happened. And then it says here, if a body gets lodged in reeds, it's usually found by a dog walker. That's normal. Again, that is also true, that when bodies get into weird places, a lot of times it is a dog walker, a hiker, somebody out there looking for frogs happens to go into those reeds and see a body. That's it. Sometimes a fisherman will just run into it someplace. Depending on where you are, you'll run into a body in very strange places. Now, so yes, a body can just get lost under stuff. So, everybody worked hard. He worked hard. The police worked hard. They just didn't find the body until now. Now, if you leave that alone, it would help. But he's gone on to say another thing which really concerns me. Okay, let's see here. Nicola Bulley's body was found in a, quote, perfect deposition site. The leader of an underwater search team who helped the police in their investigation has said. Peter Folding, whose team Specialist Group International joined police in searching the River Wire for the mum of two, was keen not to spark speculation as to what definitively happened to Nicola. But, and here's, that's what you say, I don't mean to worry you, but, or I'm not trying to insult you, but, so he doesn't want to spark speculation, but he said it was a, quote, possibility a body could be placed in the river after disappearing. And I have heard, this is now going insane on the internet. I knew this was going to happen. When they found her in the reeds, I knew this was going to happen. Because 3 weeks had passed, now the new theory out there that's getting a little wildfire-ish is that somebody did kidnap her and held her someplace, kept her someplace, or even kept her dead someplace. But then when they gave up on the river, or the police were still saying she's probably in the river, they're like, hey, great idea if we put her in the river. So they sneak down there and shove her into the reeds. And that would cover why, Peter Folding says, well, she wasn't in the river when I searched, but now she's there. So maybe she was put there later. Okay. Now, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. I mean, right now, the police have the body. They're going to be doing their forensic examinations to determine how long the body was in the water and look at the clothing and everything else to see whether she was in the water for those 3 weeks or she was not. Now, no investigator should say that couldn't have happened. I mean, it could have. There was no evidence she ever left the fields, no evidence of a third party, but could it have happened? Possible, not probable, but possible, even if it's that tiny. So yes, I'm sure they can put that thought over here, do their examination. And if something weird comes up in the examination, like, well, she's only been dead a day, well, then you got a new ballgame. You do. If her clothes were different, you'd have a new ballgame. But the fact that this guy, again, is going out there and putting those ideas out there. And, when I talk about these things here for an educational channel, I'm not trying to say that's what happened. I'm not trying to spark everybody into going crazy as to that's what happens. But that's what people are doing. That's what he's doing. He's trying to open a door to have everybody think that's what happened. I'm only pointing out that if you look at evidence, you have to examine certain things. And yes, there's that small possibility. And the police will then do their investigation, not us. And we don't need to go all rushing around to decide who put her in the river because we don't know that she was put in the river. All we know is she's in the river. That's it. We don't know anything more. And what we needed to stand down. And Peter, you need to stand down too. Stand down. Stop saying crap. Let the police do their job in their investigation. I don't know, for some reason, this weird idea out here that, even if the police had some missteps, that somehow they're trying to hide things and not tell the public things that they're trying to, they're just trying to solve the case. That's it. And the people that matter are the family of Nicola Bulley. Those are the people that really matter. And the people that live in the town, they have concerns over safety issues as well. So yes, if there was a serial killer rolling around town, it would behoove the police to warn people that there may be a predator in their midst. But if that's absolutely not what they think happened, there's no reason to go scare the crap out of everybody. So they were doing their job. And maybe it wasn't perfect, but they were doing their job to find Nicola, which they did eventually. And okay, so here's another thing. So people are going on about how, see, the public found her. The police didn't find her. Okay, now again, a black eye on the police. They didn't do their job because they didn't find her. Well, it's because it's hard to find bodies. They did work to find her. They did. It's just that she was in a little location that was hard to find. Now, the guy that found her, so this gets just so annoyingly awful, claims he's a psychic. And that he's kind of being very careful how he words things. So he's almost trying to say that the police wanted his help, but he's not saying that. And he's, and he helped them find her, but helped them find her by what he stumbled over her body. And originally we heard that there were two people taking a walk and they just ran into her. Now, why him? Okay. Well, either it was just pure freaking luck, because sometimes that's what happens. People just taking a walk and they run into him. Now, a dog walk, let's say a person isn't, let me think. Let's say a person is an artist and they happen to be taking a walk and they see the body. Does their art have anything to do with finding a body? Even as a profiler, let's say I was just visiting the town, okay, because I was invited in by the police, and I just wanted to see the beauty of the area, and I'm just taking my little walking along, looking how pretty everything is, and I run into her body. Did it have anything to do with me being a profiler? No, absolutely nothing. It's just accidental. Now, on the other hand, there's one other thing that might be true. If he put a tremendous amount of effort, and I don't know that he did, I don't know that he didn't just accidentally stumble on her, but if he decided he was going to comb every part of the river, he didn't want to go in the river, but he'd comb all the sides of the river because he wanted to find her so he could say, my psychic self found her, right? If his psychic self was so good, it wouldn't have taken him 3 damn weeks, you see. But he could have spent, I don't know, he could have spent tons of time just walking along the side of the river with a stick. He could have done that for days on end and then got lucky. Just because he was out there searching so much ground, he happened to find the body. I could do the same thing. I could say, I just got to go out and I got to start looking for her. And I could be the lucky one to find her. But that doesn't mean his psychicness found her body. And it hasn't been played up too much in the press so far, thank God. But I'm sure there's people going to say, just like they're saying, oh, see, the police didn't find her, the public found her. As if that means the police should have given their entire investigation over to the public and let them run with it because the public solved the case. Hold on a second. Still have a cold. Oh, so anyway. So I don't know what we're going to see in the weeks following, but I did want to point out this one statement that was made by this woman. Says, I don't know her, Janet, who does, she does, whatever was that show? What is that show? Loose Women or whatever. Personally, it's a show I'll never watch because I think it's repulsive. And a lot of people say, well, you're a freaking gossip, so shut the hell up. But she did make this statement, and I thought some of her points were really good. So I'm going to read it because I liked it. Okay, she says, and I think what we've to be aware of before everyone goes crazy again on social media is we've got to respect the family, her poor partner, and 2 kids. It has become a circus, hasn't it? Yes. She went on, even at the weekend, people were digging in the woods. Amateur detectives were digging in the woods near the spot she went missing and filming themselves and posting it on social media. I've written about it. I find the whole thing utterly distasteful and distressing. Yes, I do too. I think that gets really, a lot of these channels now are going to the scene and they're filming themselves as if the major media. And I know there is that pull to do these kind of things, but I think doing it to the extent these people are doing it is taking it too far. Then she also wrote, the neighborhood has been besieged by amateur detectives, podcasters, influencers, and dozens of complete idiots, all keen to help an overworked police force do their job. Many of these time wasters have got pet theories about what could have happened to Nicola. The most insensitive post random thoughts on social media and TikTok, causing even more distress to her loved ones. Oh, Lord, yes. She added, millions of us think that we could do a better job at solving any crime than the police. And it's because we spend hours every night watching bumbling coppers and lazy detectives take 6-hour-long episodes to solve the mystery of another dead body at the local bus stop. This is what's happening. People who are not trained are out here thinking they're brilliant. And they spend an incredible amount of hours on one case watching these grifter channels. And every piece of information comes up where they're like, oh, I can solve this. And they're talking about how they're solving it. And that's really gotten bad. She's correct. So I don't know anything about her, that show or her, but I'll give her credit on that. That was extremely well done. Well written. So I like that. But right now, what we have is this. The police worked hard on the case. The body was difficult to find and was finally found accidentally, in my opinion. We must wait. At this point, we have no reason to believe the body hasn't been there since the beginning, in spite of what the dive guy says. So let the police finish the job doing their forensics so they can find out how long the body has indeed been in there and everything else they need to figure out. and let them make their statement about what they have discovered before people go back off on another tangent with more and more and more crazy theories. And lastly, there's always room for improvement in any agency and any police agency. Nobody's perfect. More training needs to be done. Sometimes standards have to be, re-examined, how we're going to do things, perhaps how we reach out to the public, so on and so forth. But please remember, people, and we're having this problem in the United States. You can sit here and disparage the living heck out of the police in every way possible. And then no one wants to join the police. And now you won't have enough detectives. When your loved one goes missing and they're like way down manpower, don't complain. Say, well, sorry, we lost 50% of our force is missing. As a matter of fact, in one area in the country here, it was so bad that the 911 calls aren't even getting answered properly anymore. So, people are calling in. It's doubled the time for people to show up. They're not graduating they're having trouble recruiting anybody in the police department. So there very few people are graduating, but so many police officers are retiring. They're not staying on past their whatever. If they're 20, it's 20 years to retirement. They hit day 20, they're gone. They used to stay on for years because they were already there and they were already trained. They already knew what they were doing. They'd stay on. Now they're out of there as soon as they can get out. So we have decimated our police forces. And if you're going to treat the police this badly all the time, not when there's corruption, that's fine. Not that you can't make statements. Everybody should, as citizens, people do point out they work for us. They do. But we also have to be respectful toward them. So if we have something to say about them mishandling a case, then we ought to say it in a way that's at least we've examined it for real, and we're not just spouting off, and we're not just being nasty. And I've seen a lot of that here, and I feel very sorry for that police department. So yeah, so if you want the police to show up when you have a problem, and have enough good detectives to solve a case that's means something to you personally, stop acting like that, because there won't be any police left. All right, let me see what you have to say. Oh, that's true too. Mushroom hunters are good body finders. Yeah, because they're all scrubbing around on the ground. Yeah, that's a good one. Lee says, Martin just showed up. Hi, Martin. You missed Pat fighting the good fight against nonsense in the McCann and Nicola Bulley cases. Yeah, where have you been, Martin? This is why I'm doing it at 8 p.m. UK time. Yes. Oh, please no. There's enough grifting and true crime in the media and YouTube that Pat could do a show like this every day. Yeah, I'll try not to do that. Then I'll become a grifter too. So, I've had people say, well, why have you ever said anything bad about any other channel? That's just, don't do that. Just do your shit and leave people alone. And, I try, but once in a while, some of that grifting really gets to me because I find it unethical. So I do speak up, but I really don't want to do it too often. It's not pleasant. And I'm not going to do anything that has to do with politics here. So if I see one of your anything political come in, I'm gonna skip that because I don't like political fighting on the internet, because then it gets very nasty. That's another thing that is out of hand. Oh, well, I'll answer this, Betty. I wonder why this case, 170,000 people go missing every year in the UK. Oh, is it that high? Nearly all these cases can be open to crazy conspiracies. Anytime a case gets some kind of traction in the media, there's something about it that makes it a good story. Let's face it, that's the truth. And that there's not some suspicion that it's hard to say. It's everything. It's like a cake. If it has to be all made right, and then people want to eat that cake. That's the way it is. So there's some which just aren't very interesting to people. Maybe the person going missing has had bad behavior and they've run away before, and now they're into drugs and they go missing, and people just sort of go, well, I don't know what happened to them. Or there's just different reasons. And in this particular case, I think the reason the traction took was because she went with the dog to a specific, dropping the kids off, family. She's part of a family. She's a mom of 2 kids. She goes right to the park. People see her in the park. And a few minutes later, she's gone. That's a kind of interesting story, because it seemed impossible. They vanished in a thin air thing was very true with this. It might be different if she'd, gone shopping and she was, doing errands in town, and then her car was found on the side of the road and she was missing. I mean, people would still be concerned. Obviously, something happened to her, but when it happened, what could have happened, that'll be a lot of theories too. But this was like within so short a period of time, she just vanished. That fascinated people. So there are those cases where people have a real hard time figuring out. As a matter of fact, because of that, I was asked to do the Brian Schaefer case. It's the young man who went missing out of Ohio, went into a bar, as far as people know, never came out, and has been missing for, over a decade. And I don't know how long it's been, a decade and a half now. Never been seen again. No body's been ever found. There's no evidence anyplace. Goes into a bar, doesn't come out. It is a fascinating case. And so I've been studying that case, and I've been asked to please do the Brian Schaefer case. So I'm going to do that. But it reminds me a little of this in the sense that that's what caught people's attention, because it just seemed impossible. And so people want to figure that one out. So, we'll see if we can figure that one out. I will say one thing on this. Look at my Indigenous brothers and sisters. No one even looks for us. Now, again, I don't want to get into the politics of that. But there's a lot of things that have to do with location, have to do with how people are going missing, and then what kind of police forces in that area. And so I'm going to do a show on that at some point, because I want to bring in all the issues. There are certainly some issues where the attention isn't given to that particular group of people, or the victims don't interest people as much in the major media. There's lots of reasons, and some of it has to do with small police forces in the area, has to do with the very wild areas where there's tremendous amount of forest, and and then prostitution can play into it, and then, all kinds of things that go on. And serial killers in certain areas, there seem to be more serial killers there than there should be. So I think what you're talking about, but it's very complicated. So it's not just one thing. It's unfortunately about 10 different things all put together. So it's unfortunate, because when you have one person that goes missing and somebody has done something to them, then there's a dangerous person out there who then can do something to somebody else. And then you have a trend. The same thing is true down in some areas. For example, Mexico had a real bad problem on the border of lots of women going missing. And a lot of it had to do with the cartels. It had to do with the police departments. It had to do with women who were leaving home to go work in factories, and taking buses late at night. There's all kinds of things again put in there, and they got pissed off eventually. It's like, hey, we got like 40 women missing here. Why is nobody paying attention? So that's another one. That's going to be very, very interesting. I'm going to try to figure out when I do that. Try to figure out how I'm going to approach that, and which cases I'm going to look at, and what happened with those cases for them not to be resolved or to be properly investigated. So, but that's a tricky one. Now the other UK thing I wanted to talk about was the Plymouth Murders. Before I do that, I want to mention this guy. This is the Nicola Bulley thing. Bulley. Sorry, I'm saying Bulley. Let me find the story about this guy, because Is this it? This fellow, this is how things actually work. People don't understand. This is a Georgia College student. This is in the United States. Went missing in 1976. Okay, got that now? 1976. And he's been missing since 1976. Nobody had a clue what happened to him. So this is one of those cases where everybody was going nuts about. It's like, what, all kinds of theories out there. They just found his car with bones in it, his wallet. All right, let's see what happened to him. He disappeared in 1976, and they finally have some more answers about him. He is 22 years old. His name is Kyle Clinkscales. He was an Auburn University student. His skeletal remains have been positively identified as a cold case over 47 years old. All right. His 1974, he and his 1974 Ford Pinto went missing on January 27th, 1976. Were last seen at the Moose Club. All right. But it took all these years till 2021. Somebody spotted his Pinto in a creek. All right. And everything inside the car. All right. So let me see if I can see what else it says here. It said here, we're glad today for 45 years. We've looked for this young man and looked for this car. We've drained lakes. We've looked here and we've looked there. It always turned out with nothing. And yet, they just found the car in a creek. So when people say, why would it take 3 weeks to find Nicola Bulley's body in that river? Because some people say it looks more like a creek to me. Look how long, 47 years to find this car in a creek. So sometimes, there's so many places to look. There's so much water. There's so many trappy things around. That if it's missed, it's missed. And that river may not give up that item for years unless something happens. Who knows what that something is, whether it's I don't know, even a hurricane or construction or whatever. They're building a bridge. Something dislodges that item that's been somehow, and maybe in the mud so far down that it just sunk. Who knows? It's a whole car. It took them 47 years to find a car in a creek. There you go. See, those are the examples that I like people to understand, because once you understand that, then you understand that things aren't as simple as people believe. Oh, well, they could have found her on the first day if they had done their job. Not necessarily at all. But I thought that was really interesting. That many years, that was kind of just a shock. Okay, so the Plymouth guy, this guy, and it reminds me a little bit of where's our guy here? That creep. Okay, this guy. Jake Davison, and he's a family annihilator, all right? And he's an incel. So it's interesting, in a weird way, reminds me a little bit of the Idaho case in the sense that he went into a house and wiped everybody out. And he's been an incel for a long time and has a lot of hatred toward women, mother, pretty much everybody. He's just a mess. So let me see if I can find a story, the best one I saw on him. And one of the things that people are so upset about is that what had happened was, I want to tell you what he's like first. Okay, he's got mental health issues. He's had mental health issues for a really long time. He had a history of violence. And one day he was out like a skate park, and somebody insulted him, and he went and beat the crap out of this kid, like bam, 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 And then he was able to still get a shotgun permit or license or whatever you have over there. And they gave it to him. And so now, mind you, when he beat this kid, as far as I see, I don't even think he got any kind of jail time on it. So there's the first thing that ticks me off. Let me go back. I want to find I had a really good, is this the one? I'm trying to find the good one I had that explained his whole history. Family members said Maxine Davison, that's his mother, 51 years old, and her son Jake were once very close. All right. But she became really upset with him because of his sexist and misogynist views. So, and hold on a second, I'm getting ads that are covering the page. They were very close, but their relationship became strained after her son turned to the online incel community. So this is one of the problems we're having with when you have communities of people who have grievances. This is kind of really pouring fuel on a fire. Once upon a time, if you had a grievance, you had to go look for one or two people in your community who might agree with you. But now you can go online, and there you've got your hundreds and hundreds of people sitting there going, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You should go do this. Those people aren't treating us right. You got your whole group, and you can find any group you want. Any grievance you have, you can Google that. You can find yourself a group on Facebook or on Twitter or wherever else there are groups and social media. So he's been hanging on these groups, getting the fire stoked, he killed 5 people on Thursday night during a 12-minute rampage through a residential area before turning the gun on himself. Ms. Davison was her son's first victim. Usually what happens in these cases is they have the one they really, really want to kill. But once they've killed the one they want to kill, they know they're going down anyway. So then they might as well add to the numbers. So he went to her home, burst in, and shot her, which is, she just recovered from cancer. Yeah. And she had become deeply unsettled by her son's behavior. One of the first things I wanted to know was when he got the shotgun, was he living in the house with them? Because sometimes what you'll have, I'll point this out in another case, is you have somebody who's mentally disturbed or psychopathic, and you let them live with you. They're adults, but you let them live with you. And then you let them bring weapons into your house, and then one day they kill you with them. So, sometimes you got to be smart and say no. And of course, then you have the problem. So he didn't actually live with them at the time, but they still had the problem of him showing up and killing them all. So that sucks. Anyway, they used to do they used to do shopping and everything together. But then he changed his views and went against women and became a misogynist. And she found this extremely upsetting. And everybody said she was very sweet. And then what happened? Okay, so on social media, he called his mother abusive and vile. In one lengthy post from 5 days ago, he spoke of his mother as being a great example of a woman because she never thought she was the problem. So now, he's got his grievances. In one comment he wrote, try being an unemployed, autistic, poor, sexually frustrated male with tons of health issues and no social circle, and being stuck in government housing with my disgusting, abusive mother for years on end. So, but he supposedly wasn't living with her when he killed her. So that's why I got a little confused here. Another post, he was asked, what do incels think of their mothers? And he said, we can't stand her. I can't stand her. He had a history of anger-related mental health problems. After the alleged assault, here it is. What did they do? He assaulted someone brutally. It almost looked like attempted murder, but he didn't kill him, so it was just assault. He got an anger management course. I'm sorry. When you commit a major crime, I don't think you should get an anger management course. I think you should go to prison. You can get your little course while you're there, but. So anyway, he attended an anger management course following an alleged assault last year, which led to his gun license being revoked before it was reinstated. So he had a gun license. Then he went to his, little class and got his gun license back because, of course, he'd proven that he wasn't angry anymore at anybody. He also fought with his father a couple months ago. And it says apparently he hasn't been well quite a bit mentally, and also beat up his father a couple months ago. Beat him up. Well, if he beat him up, why is he walking the streets? The police took his gun license from him, but gave it back to him. So that people think this could have been prevented. So he killed his family, and I think he also killed some people walking down the street, if I'm correct on this. Hold on. But the people are really furious that the government gave him the license back to have the shotgun. which is kind of amazing, isn't it? The warning signs were there, and the police didn't do anything about them. Systemic failings, and let's see what else it says here. Oh, Davison shot his mother before killing 3-year-old Sophie Martin, her father Lee, Stephen Washington, 59, and Kate Shepard. And then he killed himself. I think the last two were walking down the street. It took him 8 minutes to kill all those people. Now, the other thing is just important to point out. It's not just about guns. Should he have had a gun license? Probably not. Should he have had a gun? No. However, we look at the Idaho case, and all you need is a knife. So he could have gone in and stabbed everybody to death too. So that's also possible. So the problem, the biggest problem is the person behind the weapon, and we're getting more and more super angry people. This guy just got executed here. And he got executed for killing his mother. So here we go again. So people are actually feeling sorry for this guy. But listen to the whole story of this, how he got to killing his mother. So he was sentenced to death for murdering his own mother years earlier. She had been assaulted by him many times, but was excited when he moved in with her, hoping to repair their relationship. Let's see, what could go wrong? Good Lord. Beatty's last name is Beatty. Beatty's violent outburst made this impossible because he was still angry. And Carolyn asked her son to move out following a serious assault in which he beat her badly and left her for dead. Okay, so after he beats her again, she asked him to move out. Wait a minute. Where's the call to the police? If he beat her that badly and left her for dead, he should be in prison. But she just asked him to move out. But he didn't move out, despite numerous requests. Well, I don't know why he doesn't respect her requests. Finally, he beat and strangled Carolyn to death. He then buried his mother in a grave in her backyard alongside her mobile phone. He then took her money and used it to buy alcohol and drugs. Once he did get arrested and sentenced to death. Over the years, his lawyers have argued his sentence to be commuted to life because they said one professional examination said he was clearly psychotic and has a complex paranoid delusional belief system. Really? Or it's just a psychopath. A psychopath who killed his mother. So now we have these two guys, both psychopaths, in my opinion, that killed their mothers. And what's creating them? Why are they continuing to live with their mothers when they have this kind of violent behavior? Why, when they actually go through with the violent behavior to the point of harming somebody and putting them in the hospital, do they not go to prison? I don't know. It just kind of boggles my mind how, this goes on and on like this, and it's not taken seriously enough, I don't think. Let's see. This is a good point. VLW says, I think a large percentage of missing persons cases are probably due to cars going off the road and ending up submerged. So hard to find them. Yes, actually, that's very true. And, especially if you don't always take the same route, or let's say you do normally go one direction, but you decide to take another route. Like, I'm going to do the scenic route today. You do the scenic route, you're off the bridge. Nobody looks for you over there. They're busy looking for you over here. So therefore, they never find your car unless it pops up. But yeah, that is a really big problem. Let's see. Lisa N has to say here, I knew a family like this, and we banned the son from coming to our home. I was convinced he would kill his mother and go on a rampage, but he turned his life around. It can be done. It can, if you're not a psychopath. So if there's other mitigating factors, shall we say, that cause this kind of, this person's does give that anger and stuff. But it's just that what I want to point out, sometimes you have to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. Your son is that violent. You've got to find a way to protect yourself so he does not come and kill you. Because sometimes they will, and it may be you have to make sure that he has no access to you. A lot of times I've said that to people. They say, what should I do? I say, get as far away as you can, because it's not going to end well, or the risk factor is just too high. You want to be nice, but the risk factor is, I saw this on Twitter, and I just laughed, because this is sometimes the way people don't think properly. 50 Shades of Grey is only romantic because the guy is a billionaire. If he was living in a trailer, it would be a Criminal Minds episode. And this is true. The behavior, sometimes we take these behaviors and we downplay them for whatever reasons. We downplay them. In other circumstances, we would realize what we're dealing with. So yes, I'm a hater of 50 Shades of Grey, and Christian, in my opinion, was a sadistic psychopath. And the only reason 3 books were written and people thought he was so hot was because he was a billionaire. But if he had just been living in a trailer, worked as a janitor at the school, yeah, he would have been a Criminal Minds episode. So, and on that note, I have a couple of Dear Abbeys to read, so because I find them interesting. So, and it want to do something, I don't know if you want to call this lighter, but okay. This is an Ask Amy. My ex-wife is more fun than my current girlfriend. What can I do? All right. This is a great story here. And it's just like, I'm reading this going, wow. Dear Amy, I'm a 71-year-old man. 20 years ago, I was married, and I had an affair and left my marriage. My relationship with my ex is very good, and we speak often. At the time of this affair, we had 4 children, ranging in age from 13 to 20. They're all grown now with families of their own, and after several tough years, they all understand and are good with everything. I'm not sure what they're understanding, but okay. My ex hooked up with a guy that she went to junior high school with before I even moved out of the house. She eventually married him, so I'm not sure how that ended up. I understand why she did all that. The thing is, it's like that Barry Manilow song, the Pina Colada song. My ex and I realized we had the best times together. The people we are with now have been good for us. We're both more stable and financially secure than we would be if we stayed together. But it's no fun. We obviously can't get a do-over, but it's also no fun this way. Neither of our mates would appreciate our getting together for some fun times. Oh, really? Have you ever heard of such a thing? And what advice can you give? Now, here's Amy's advice. All right. She goes, yeah, that's what happens. Sometimes you don't know what you have till you're not there, right? The cynic in me says that this is something you should have realized before you had an affair and blew up your marriage. Check. I also believe that fun and joy are qualities you can try to bring to your current long-term relationships. Check. I'll agree with that, although I do understand that sometimes what can happen is that person that you ran off with, maybe younger or whatever, turns out to be not as fun. It can happen. The romantic in me says that you and your ex obviously believe that you are on a path leading to fun and passion. I don't know about his ex, because this is coming from the guy's point of view. Given that you're both entering your elder years, you might see this as a last chance of revisiting your youth and repairing some of the mistakes you made. Yes, divorced couples sometimes do reconcile after many years. And a percentage of these just break up again. If you choose this particular walk, I suggest you make this choice with more care and compassion toward your current partner than you showed the last time. Okay, what one big thing do you see here as something that should be noticed, observed about this whole answer? Does anybody have a thought? To me, it's something that just stood out like crazy. She wants him to be more compassionate this time to the woman he's with than he was to his wife. In other words, I don't know what more care and compassion toward her. I'm not sure. To tell her, okay, we've had 20 years, but I want to go back with my other wife because she's more fun. I'm not sure what he's going to do for this, but that's not what I'm pointing out. Let's see. You think, why do I need to get a date? I'm good. Thank you very much. He better have his divorce papers ready to show. To what? Who? To whom? Oh, to the ex-wife. That's not what. That's not. I think everybody's missing what I'm trying to point out here. I'm going to tell you, since I'm not seeing it come through. She says that he ought to treat his present partner better than he treated his ex-wife when he dumped his ex-wife. Nope, that's not the grass is only greener. It may be, and all that stuff. But here's my thing. What kind of person is he to his wife's present husband? I mean, he's breaking up his own marriage, but he's also breaking up his ex-wife's new marriage. He has no consideration whatsoever for that man who loves his ex-wife, who's been married to her for years. He doesn't matter at all. Hey, look, if I'm bored with the wife I have now, I'll just tell her, hey, sorry, it isn't working out. I should be able to run back to my ex-wife, and she should just dump this man. What kind of man is he? Right here, to me, tells me he's a very selfish, narcissistic human being who doesn't care about ethics, morals, the rights of other people. Or he'd say, I don't want to interfere with my wife's marriage. It'll be terrible of me to take away. I can't do that to that guy. It's not his fault. It's just, it's, no, it isn't even a matter, to me, it's not even the commitment issue. But I'm bothered by the fact he never considered the husband of his ex-wife, because she matters. If you're a decent human being, she matters. You don't treat that person terribly because you just want to get what you want to get. When I got divorced, for example, one thing I always told my kid was, treat your father's new wife treat her nicely. It's not her fault. She didn't break up my marriage either. So he married later to somebody else. It's, you can't treat her badly just because she's a quote stepmom, even though you never lived with her. Treat her well. It's not, don't treat her badly. Don't do that. Act right. So this man is not treating that man correctly. And he doesn't even consider that man at all. That man doesn't matter to him. He wants what he wants. And if he can dump the one he's got, go back to the one he's with, he doesn't care what happens really to the new wife or to his wife's husband. It's just horrible. I mean, he's got no consideration for other human beings. I'd say he's just a narcissist. And she didn't pick up on that. And she's just like, well, so you got to be sure you do everything right this time. Blah, blah. No. It's just yeah. He doesn't really seem to be considering anyone but himself. That's correct. That's the problem that I have with this whole thing. Women are just playthings. Yeah, it's good for him. But other people's feelings don't matter. I mean, you're destroying somebody else's life when you do that. That's not okay, And that man didn't do anything to him. So why is he destroying that man's life? So that was just one of the things that just caught my eye in that particular one. And I just thought, wow, that's just, Now, so let me find there's a couple other ones that just made me laugh. Let's see, where is it? Speaking of wives, this is what people do. I mean, dear Annie, he said he'd visit. Okay, that's this way. I am in contact with a guy who's 52 years old and I'm 58. I've never actually met him. So here we have the catfishing thing. And he said he was planning to visit me. But when he arrived at the airport to fly to see me, he realized he needed more money for his flight. I told him to go home and we can meet another time. Wow, was that a bad lie? Who goes to the airport and needs to have cash for their flight? I mean, she bought that one. This guy's got to think, you're the stupidest woman ever. I mean, and then, it gets worse. Then he told me I had to go to France for work. And we talked when he was there. When he returned to the States, it seemed things had changed. He was more serious about me. I told him I was coming to visit him. And I spent Christmas in the town where he lives but he ended up getting COVID and wasn't allowed to have visitors because he was in quarantine. So I came home, and now we talk, but not a lot. However, after he saw how much I cared for him, he said he would visit me for 2 weeks with his teammates. I'm not sure what that means, but I really want to believe him, but I don't know anymore. I tried to quit talking to him, and it's not working. He says he loves me so much, but I don't know what to believe. I believe he's married. I'm pretty sure he's married. And I'm like, I'm reading this thinking, you know, how, you know, what will you believe? What will you get yourself to believe? Just so you can have some kind of a relationship, even if it's a long distance one. The things you will tell yourself in order to have that kind of relationship. Oh my goodness. Milena says, who are Dear Abby and Dear Amy? They're just people. Are they life coaches? No, we didn't. Back in the day, they never had that term, life coaches. They were usually hired by the newspaper as their lovelorn columnist. I just don't understand how people trust strangers on the internet to fix their life issues. Because it's an easy place to go. People used to write into the newspapers, and other people benefited by hearing the advice if the person was not too bad at giving advice. And some of it's just, some people are pretty good at it because a lot of it's just common sense. It's common sense. Now, you'd think this woman could figure out that the story about the airport was stupid. And then she flies to see him, and all of a sudden he's got COVID, can't see her. He's got excuses every time. And my guess is he's married, and that's why she can't actually see him. And he's got to find a time when he can come into her town and have some fun with her, I'm sure. But this is the kind of thing, when I see this, I'm just always amazed at that. Where's your brain with these kind of things? There was another one here too. Just is this one? Oh, this is again common sense, but a common sense is missing from people. And a lot of times, here's something else about common sense: that the reason people don't want to do what's sensible is because it will prevent them from having whatever they wish they could have. Okay, even if it's not really true, even if it's not going to be good, they want to do something. They don't want to do anything to block the possibility of, even if the probability is almost zero. Here's this woman says. I'm a 32-year-old woman. I spent my 20s in a serious long-term relationship. After we split, I took a couple of years to sow my wild oats and to find out who I am without him. Now I'm looking for something more than friends with benefits. Okay. However, the last few men I've met and gone on dates with, as wholesome as they seemed on online dating sites, they're wholesome on the dating site. I'm a great guy. Since that's been my main way of meeting men, which is the problem right there. These men are really just looking for hookups. Yeah, that's what almost all dating sites are about, hookups. Okay. I want to find a life partner. I've been chatting with a great guy I met online, and we have a date scheduled for later this week. I'm nervous that we'll meet and he'll expect more than a date. Like I said, I want an actual relationship. What should I do? If you're online dating, here's what you do. Hi, my name is Mary, and I'm looking for a long-term relationship. That means I'm not willing to I'm not looking for a hookup. So there's going to be no sex like in the first few dates or anything like that. I want to meet somebody. I want to know if we like each other. I want to spend a little time, get to know you before I get into a serious relationship, because that is what I'm aiming for. So I'm not hooking up. So please don't meet me for that, because you're not going to get that. Now, what'll happen is you'll lose 99% of the guys. Those little hearts they send through, beep, 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 I like you. They're all going to go away. But if that's not what you're looking for, why not just be straight up front? It was funny the other day. I was coming through something, and there was a person who was discussing, who was trans. And they were discussing when do you tell the person you're dating you're trans? How about before the date, Because that's a kind of a huge thing, So if you're a trans woman and you want to go out with a guy, and he's looking for a woman, maybe looking for someone to do certain things with, have a baby with, so on and so forth. Don't you think you might mention that beforehand so that he can make a choice whether you're appropriate or not? I mean, otherwise you're presenting a false self. So she, by not saying she doesn't want a hookup, is actually presenting herself in a false way. And the same thing can be true with, I think it can be true with religious issues. I mean, if you are of a religion and you're very strong about that religion, you should be then say, I am very strong about this religion. I want somebody of the same religion, because that way you can have the proper relationship. If you want to have no children, you should say that right up front, so you don't meet somebody who's looking forward to having 6 kids, because at least you want to start with the basics of, you're the kind of person that I would consider for whatever reasons. And I'm the person you would consider. And it used to be that families would hook up, they'd find, a boy and a girl or whatever, and hook them up and sort of set that up because both families thought they were appropriate for each other. But now in this wild world we're in, people are doing all kinds of, online dating and stuff. And they're not presenting themselves as who they are, and nobody knows their background. So in the old days, people knew your background. They knew your family. They knew exactly who you were. They knew if you were the daughter of a banker or you were the daughter of a fisherman. And they knew they could see you and they know who you are. And she could see the guy and know who he was. He's a bricklayer, he's a lawyer. Okay. And therefore you have a starting point. And you probably know each other's religions and all that kind of stuff. But when you're meeting online and when you don't know their family, their friends, their work, any of this stuff, half the time now you don't even know what sex they are. So, this should be put forth first so that you don't waste time. Because if that's not what you want, then you shouldn't be wasting other people's time, pretending. And hoping, oh yeah, maybe they'll like me anyway, and then they'll go along with me. No, just say it right up front. And if they're interested in that, and interested in who you are, the way you are, then you date. But I don't understand all this kind of stuff that people are doing. To me, it's not common sense. You use common sense, but see, if she uses common sense, she's going to lose 99% of her dates, because she's looking in a swamp, and she's expecting to get beautiful goldfish. She's not going to get that. She's getting carp. Might be one goldfish in there, but she's going to have to work hard to find the goldfish. And she wants to keep dating, and so she doesn't want to destroy that possibility. So you see, with a lot of these people, they just want what they want, and they lose all common sense. So I want a Texas billionaire is 89 and on life support. Well, only if he writes over the will to you before you get hooked up with him, Tough love. Dishing out tough love. Life can be great, and we can be happy or single, and we can be happy in a relationship. That's my opinion. But we can't be happy if we're liars and cheats and we put ourselves into relationships that aren't going to work. That's just not, it's not sensible. It ends up being miserable for everybody. So I think, we should use some common sense, for goodness sakes. Well, my guess is a 25-year-old Yahoo boy in Nigeria. Well, that could be too. That could be too. Let's see. There should be a Dear Pat column. Maybe one day. This is a good point, though. Surely this is not real. It's so pathetic to be legit. Sometimes there are people who write up stuff as a story, as a Dear Abby type thing. And it is fake. That's true. That can happen. But believe you me, I have people writing me about these things. I mean, so I know personally, I get these emails. I'm like, really? Oh my God. So a lot of them are actually true. And I think I pointed this out very often in like How to Save Your Daughter's Life book, that one of the reasons that mothers put their families in so much danger is that they're single moms for whatever reasons. Maybe their husband died, maybe they got divorced, maybe they just never had anybody and they got pregnant when they were 16 or whatever. And they hook up with some piece of scum and they move him into the house within a month of knowing him. And they met him someplace, wherever they met him at. He doesn't have a job. Maybe he doesn't have a car at the time. Maybe he's living in a halfway house. Maybe he just got out of prison. And you move him right into your house. Why? Why would you do that? It's called loneliness. So this person says, oh my God, the guy's, he's paying me attention. He's saying you're very pretty, blah, blah, blah. And you're cute. And then they go and they have sex, and sex is exciting. So, and now they've got somebody. Okay, so he uses her credit cards, when she's not looking, and then he kills her. But, that's the danger. Or he messes with a 16-year-old girl. That's the danger people put themselves in, because they want to skip certain steps, which is never bring anybody into your house around your kids. Never. Unless, you've been with them, you've known them for a long time, they're super safe, the children like them, and all that kind of stuff. Don't bring them home. Because you're lonely, because you put your needs above your kids. Or sometimes you don't even have kids in the situation, but you just have your own little needs. And then you're like, and then the story comes out, this guy's living with me, and he won't keep a job, blah, blah, blah. It's like, why are you dating a guy who can't keep a job? Why are you even doing that? He shouldn't even be dating. What does he have to offer anybody if he can't keep a job? Maybe he needs to get his own life in order. Maybe he needs to not date till he gets over whatever drug or alcohol problems he has, and he gets work, and he keeps his jobs, and he builds himself a life. And when he becomes a stable guy, then he dates. But he too wants to skip all those steps, because especially if he can use the person, the other person, you can use them. And both men and women do that. The woman might say she wants to skip those steps of having to go get a job, blah, blah. So she finds a guy with money who, is 30 years older than her, and thrilled to have her move into his house. She gets a free place to live. And, he gets sex, I guess. And he gets to have a young thing, and maybe he enjoys that for a while. And then he thinks that, well, if she's really beginning to annoy me because she won't do anything around the house, and she's just taking my money. It's like, what did you expect? Isn't that the whole deal to begin with? So, yeah, but people know how to mess up their lives. They really do. Psychedelic Shrug says, I know someone who fell for a romance catfishing scam, and that was crazier than anything Pat read today. It happens. Oh, some of them are absolutely nuts. And I actually have done, I did a show on the one catfishing one, the football player. I did a whole video on that. And that was the most bizarre catfishing thing I've ever heard of. Because there's a guy pretending to be a woman, and he had him fooled. So, and it really crushed him. It really crushed him. Very, very sad. And they made a movie out of it. They made a Netflix thing out of it too. I forgot the name of it. A coworker is still engaged to a man who's been stuck on an oil rig for 2 years now. Well then, is there proof he's stuck on the rig? I mean, there are people who see. This is the tricky part. He may actually have to be on a rig for 2 years, but did she get to know him off the rig? Did they like each other? And then he had to go, and they've been exchanging, they're keeping in contact and having a good time, because sometimes people do have jobs that take them overseas, or away for periods of time. They're on ships or something like that. They're always trickier, because obviously if you're not together all the time, you always wonder what the other one's doing. And whether they're, when you're on a ship and you're ending up in port, are you having fun in port, like sailors tend to do, or is this relationship really workable? So people would just, again, analyze a little bit and ask themselves whether they, first of all, have the truth. Do they have the truth, or is this just fake stuff, and they're believing stuff like they don't really know who this guy is. They don't really know if he's even married, or if he's even on an oil rig. He might just be living in another state with another woman. But that's the trick, is make sure you get evidence. And this, evidence is important. It's important when you're doing any kind of profiling. You're profiling a case, you need evidence, but you also need evidence in your own life. And we sometimes shortchange ourselves in getting evidence so we can make decisions. Like even for You want to move someplace? Yeah, getting an apartment. Don't jump. Go there, examine it, examine the neighborhood, see what's nearby. Go there on a Friday night and a Saturday night to see where the drug dealers are running around. Because sometimes at Tuesday at 1:00 in the afternoon, it's nice and peaceful. But a Saturday night, you're living in a drug den. There's a crack house right across the street. So get your evidence together. Do due diligence in your own life because, when you come right down to it, your life is very important to you. So, get evidence. Why wait a minute. I got to see this one. Wait a minute. Carolina says, a UNC professor, Paul Frampton, jailed in Argentina after going to Argentina to meet Miss Bikini World. Oh, she asked him to take a suitcase from her friend. It had drugs. Professor. He's a professor. He's supposed to have intelligence. Oh my God. This is the oldest trick in the book. How can you be that stupid? Really, how can you be that stupid? But he was so excited. If she was Miss Bikini World, I'm pretty sure that he already saw those bikini pictures and he was all hot. It's like, oh my God, she's so sexy. I'm going to go. And who knows what he was like? Is he kind of like frumpy? So like he's going to finally get this hot chick. And so he'll do anything. Oh, idiocy. Absolute idiocy. Oh my God. He was also going to send her bars of gold. Bars of gold. And it's a person, if they never even met and she's asking for money, asking for stuff. And that's always a sign, in my opinion. It's really, really a good sign as to what kind of person they are. If they're asking you for money, using you for something, except they should be just wanting to be with you, enjoying your company. And if that's not it, there's always something else attached to that. Beware. Yeah. That's it. I'm an administrator in a few Facebook groups, and most of the con men are honing in on women are supposedly oil rig workers. Really? Is this the new con? Oh my God, it's kind of brilliant when you think about it, because you can't go find them on the oil rig. You know what I mean? So they can say, I'm going to the oil rig, and they could just walk away for whatever, like excuse me. Profiler keels over during the show. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, a person who is able to put that distance and have that time away where they cannot be contacted, that's always super, super suspicious. And so, and so here's the thing. If that person likes you, you can say to them, look, I like you, but I've heard of too many women being conned by men who say they're on oil rigs. So do you have proof you're on an oil rig? Ask the question. And if he doesn't want to provide the proof, then you know the answer. And sometimes they go, well, you just don't trust me. The answer to that is no, go away. If you think it's an unreasonable thing to ask that I see your license, if I'm online with you, I want to see a license. I want to see your face. I want to do FaceTime. I want to FaceTime with you so I can see you talking. I know it's you. I want to see your license so I know how old you are, who you are. If we're going to be eventually, getting to know each other and meeting each other, why wouldn't you want to do these things? Why would you want to make everything a secret? Because if you do, there's something to hide. And people are afraid again. I hate to ask him that. He'll think I don't trust him. Yes, that's the point. You don't know him. You don't trust him. I don't trust anybody I don't know. I don't trust some of the people I do know, but I certainly don't trust people I don't know. Why would I? Because I really don't know them. So yes, I might ask that question. I don't give me proof. I want to know proof. I want proof. If people want to provide proof, like this Madeleine McCann fake, she wasn't willing to provide anything that made any sense. Why? Because she's a con. There's the answer right there. And some people say, well, did you feel bad asking her? No, I didn't feel bad at all. I'm like, look, you asked a criminal profiler. You want my help. I need evidence. What do you got? She got nothing. She's a con. So that works out. Oh, will I be commenting on the Murdoch case? Maybe. I have been avoiding it only because the case has so much stuff going on in it, and I do not watch trials. I do not. I don't have the time to watch. Trials bore the hell out of me. I know a lot of people find them fascinating, but I do not. I want to get all the details in a very short thing. I can read it and just know what happened and what I'd like to know what the final arguments are. And maybe a few other things, forensic reports and stuff like that. But I don't want to sit through all the trial stuff. I mean, do I believe he did it? Yeah, absolutely. So the question is, I'm not sure what I need commenting on the case either, because I don't do news. So the question is, here's a question I would ask you. Do you have specific questions that haven't been answered by watching the trial or hearing whatever's going on? Is there something that stands out to you as I would like to know your opinion on A, B, C, D, and E? If you can send forth those kind of things to me, then I can start looking at it, seeing what it is that is questions for people, without having to sit through the trial. Yeah. What are the questions you have? What are things that you wonder about that you're not quite sure if it goes this way or that way, or if he's guilty or not guilty? What are the things that stand out to you that you would like analyzed further? If you can send me over any of those, then I might be able to decide, put some more effort into, putting a focus on it, because I like to do a show that has a focus. I don't know, if I'm doing a thing on him, I have to have a focus on why am I talking about him? What teaching thing is there in this? And rather than just, I say, if I were doing a news reporting type of channel, it would be easy. I just simply say, oh, the trial went on today and he said this and she said that, that's easy. But if I'm going to talk about something, I want something useful to talk about. So yeah, thank you. That'll be great. Send me some questions. Yeah. And then I'll have a focus. Yes, definitely. Let's see. Surely dating 101 is, I want to see your bank balance. At least you should know they're employed, they're in school. They have to know, you have to learn something about people. You have to spend some time, and unfortunately this is a world that moves very fast and people don't want to give time anymore. They don't want to waste time. But to get to know somebody and to get to trust and see if that's somebody you even want to give the time of day, there has to be a little bit of learning about the other person. I mean, for example, I'll say that in reverse. I mean, I've had guys who are interested in me and they're like, yeah, I really like you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you don't even know me. How do you know you like me? You don't spend any time around me. So how do you know? How do you know that we have same interests in hobbies and how we like to spend our time? What do we like to do at home? Our idiosyncrasies, and how do we know we have anything in common? How do you know you like me? If you've never spent time with me, you have no idea. You might go on 3 dates with me and just say, not my thing, and I'd be happy with that, because I don't want anybody hanging with me who doesn't think I'm his thing. I don't want to be just a female for him, and I don't want him just to be a man for me. I want him to be a person I really enjoy being around, and vice versa. So, just, that's what a relationship's about. But I think people are shortcutting. I really do. That's where I see the biggest problem come in. They're shortcutting. They're so desperate to move forward. And things take time. And relationships do, and especially when we're in a country that doesn't have, we don't have arranged marriages here, at least not in the U.S. For the most part, and therefore we're not talking about. We're talking. We have choices, but we also talk a lot about the fact that we're usually not. The person's not usually that. We're meeting people that aren't in our inner circle, whereas in a lot of countries, you do know who that person is because you've known them all your life. But when you're just running into a person someplace, it's really hard to say. what about them, especially when they're from the other side of the country. And you don't know what their family's like, and you don't know their history, and they're just telling you what it is. But is it true? It gets a little tricky. But I think you just have to give it some time. Don't jump into something. But anyway, that was just, I found a whole bunch of these Dear Abby things, and I just find them interesting because I see the missing common sense thing, which really bothers me. So that's going to be it for today. And my granddaughter is heading over. She's sick, so she's going to come over and make me sick. Isn't that nice? And I am going to she's home from school again tomorrow, so she'll get to make me sick tomorrow too. So much fun. I love grandchildren. Anyway, oh, Kelly's here now. Well, Kelly, a wee bit late. No, I'm done. So, because my granddaughter's heading over here, so yeah, you'll just have to watch the rewind, But anyway, so probably Saturday at 3:00, I'll be doing the Brian Schaefer going missing out of the bar, and I have been studying it, so it's interesting. It's really, really interesting. One of the more confusing cases, and so it's going to be one of those cases where you have to look at literally what's more probable, and look for things that are red flags. So that's what I'm going to be doing with that particular case. And so I think you're going to find that really fascinating one. Yeah. So tune in then. I'll be sending over the message with the link in it. So I'm looking forward to doing that particular one. And let's see what happens in the Nicola Bulley thing. Let's see whether I'm curious what the forensics are going to tell us. I mean, if the forensics came back and said she didn't go in that water until 3 days ago, all right, we have a new ballgame, and that's okay. I mean, but we don't have to jump to that before we have evidence of that. This is what people don't understand. You can keep options open, but don't jump to something just because you can. I mean, for a simple example would be the Panama girls. I get a lot of hate mail on the Panama girls because people keep saying they were kidnapped or they were kidnapped by drug cartels. These are the two Dutch girls who went missing in Panama. A video on that, and they're like, "Oh, they were kidnapped by the drug cartels. They were kidnapped into sex slavery. They were kidnapped for their internal organs." Those are basically the three. But here's the problem: could any of those things happen? They could have happened. Could have. The possibility is like this big. Could have happened, yeah. But there's not one shred of evidence to support those things happening. That's the problem. All the evidence points they just got lost and died of an exposure, an accident, and whatever. They died of being lost in the jungle. That's what all the evidence actually supports. There's no evidence that goes the other direction. But let's say one day, I don't know, somebody in a lab came up with a heart and a kidney, and they did some DNA testing and turned out to be the Dutch girls. Let's say that happened. Well, in that case, then you'd say, well, that's a whole new ballgame. But in absence of any kind of evidence suggesting anything but that this was getting lost in the jungle, there's no reason to go there. And so I always get that question. Well, why are you being so closed-minded? Why can't you consider it? Because there's no evidence to consider it at this point. Why would I consider something there's no evidence for? So the same thing is true with Nicola Bulley. There's no evidence at this point that anybody else was involved. There's no evidence she ever walked out of the fields. At this point, there's nothing like that. Can you keep the idea open? Sure. But there's no reason to go down that road without evidence. And so now on the internet, say this starts swirling now. Oh, this happened, and this could have happened, but we have no evidence that it happened. So don't go there. Right now, only evidence we have is she was found in the river. And since it was expected that she went into the river, and the evidence points she went into the river exactly where the dog was and the phone was, it's the most sensible, logical thing there is. because I don't see her leaving the phone and the dog to go walk a mile away and then fall in the river. That makes no sense. So it makes sense she went in where the phone and the dog is. Now, could she have been kidnapped somehow and then somebody put her in the mile away in the reeds? Sure. But we have zero evidence of that. Zero. And unless we have some reason to go that direction, we don't need to go that direction. And that's the problem with people who seem to think when they do their armchair profiling that every direction is as good as every other. And that the police should waste hundreds of hours pursuing something they have no evidence for. And that the evidence they do have in front of them, they refuse to accept. So in the Panama case, I've over and over said in that case, there's evidence is strong that those girls got lost. And one of the major reasons is their backpack was found, and the backpack was found with their phones and money in it. And this is no, anybody who would have kidnapped them would have kept that stuff for themselves. They would have taken the money. And on top of that, the phone was used every day. The girls were trying to get help, and nobody had kidnapped the girls was going to let them use their phones. So these are such major things that say they were lost and kept trying to get help. And eventually they both expired, and the backpack eventually was found, and that's that. So zero evidence of anything else happening. But yet I get those emails. Why aren't you considering this? Why are you so stubborn? Why aren't you? Because the evidence isn't there for anything else. And Nicola Bulley, until somebody comes through from the coroner's office and says, she was in different clothing and was in the stream for 3 days, I'm going to say the evidence at this point says she fell into the water. And then if they come back and say it's clear that she was in the water for 3 weeks, well, and she's wearing the same clothes, I think that will close the case. Although the internet may not allow it to be closed. And there may be grifter channels doing 50 more shows on the case showing how the police were corrupt and fudged that information, and it'll go on forever, because somebody's going to watch and they're going to make money. So there you go. Anyway, exactly. They're going to come up with some wacky, far-fetched scenarios. They do it all the time. And unfortunately, they just get so many people like it. I mean, I think it may just be it's like reality TV. I mean, I can't watch reality TV, but people love reality TV, and it's not even real. That's all stage bullcrap. People love watching it. They love the drama. I find it appalling, but hey, that makes money. And, other channels that are more History Channel and things like that aren't going to make as much money as a reality show, because you have to sit down and learn and listen and so on and so forth. And so not as much of a cheap thrill. So anyway, I got to go. Okay. So yes, show up for that. It's going to be really, really interesting. It is one of the most fascinating ones. Yep, absolutely. So anyway, if they disclose the autopsy, well, it depends whether they need to. Okay, sometimes they don't need to, because again, we as a public, it isn't our right. It isn't. We keep thinking, people keep saying, well, we have a right to know. Not necessarily, So the family has a right to know. But Mary Hayes is going with my take on Brian Schaefer as he left via the fire escape and offed himself. All right. Well, do you have a theory? So we'll have to wait. Well, you'll have to wait and see, my eyes itch. What I present as far as the whole story and the evidence and all that. It is a tricky one. It's a tricky one. And I can't, you'll see when I do this thing on Saturday. It's going to be interesting. Anyway, yeah, let me go now. And I'm glad you're all here. Glad you made it at this early time. I don't usually do two shows at 3 o'clock in a row, but I had to for the purpose of, because these were so many UK cases here. So I wanted to do that. So anyway, glad you're all here. I appreciate that. Oh, am I going to watch Beyond Paradise? I have to watch Beyond Paradise, although I do like being down on that island. I mean, that just makes me happy. But yeah, I'll probably watch it. See if, because I like him. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. So I will hopefully see you on Saturday.